Mr. Gonzalez, thank you very much for joining us on A News. Now, the GCF is the world's biggest climate fund. Can you tell us a bit about the work that you do right across the world?
Sure. First of all, thank you for the invitation, Guy. The Green Climate Fund is the operating entity of the financial mechanism of the COP, and also we are the financial mechanism of the Paris Agreement. We were created at COP16 in Cancun, and in COP29 in 2015, we made our first investment. We currently have a little more than $33 billion that have been pledged to the fund, out of which we have already committed 16 billion in 286 projects across more than 140 countries. Therefore, we today are indeed the largest multilateral climate fund, and we have a target of making investments in 50% adaptation and 50% mitigation. So whenever we work, we try to bring that sort of equilibrium between both, because as you know, the adaptation finance is a bit of a laggard vis-a-vis the mitigation. We work only in developing countries that are somehow feeling the biggest impact of climate change. And within those developing countries, we have a focus on the most vulnerable, and those are small island development states, least developed countries, and African states. We are based in Songdo, Incheon, South Korea, and we are working with over 139 partners. So we channel our funds through those partners, and those partners vary from global banks, impact investors, large foundations, local NGOs, governments, and a whole suite of partners that are the ones helping us program. Now, the programming that we do has to be country driven, meaning all of our projects need to be supported by the country, because we hope that our projects are helping countries meet their NDCs and their NAPs, and we are, trying to do that through all of our programs. The last thing is that we are a catalytic fund, meaning we take high risks for high climate impact, and we could use any instrument. We're able to do grants, we're able to do loans, we're able to do guarantees, we're able to do equity. So we are very flexible, and the idea is that we would like to crowd in more public and private capital. So out of the $16 billion that we have already committed to those projects, around taking into account expected co-financing, that portfolio will grow to over $60 billion. So we are able to leverage our capital in a significant way.
Wow, and I guess with such large numbers involved and so many different partners, so many different countries, it's going to be very difficult to make sure that those funds get allocated quickly. I mean, how do you balance the need to do proper due diligence, but they're also making sure that that money gets turned into help as fast as possible?
It's a great question, and we've been really focused on those efficiencies that are needed in order to program in a fit-for-purpose way. And with the new leadership of Mafalda Duarte, our executive director, where she gave us a vision that we would be a 50 billion fund by 2030, we've been working on trying to see how we could help our partners program quicker, smarter, and higher impact. So we are hoping from 2025 onwards that we would like to approve our projects from funding proposal submission to approval in less than 9 months. And our concept notes, which are the early stage part of those funding proposals, we would like to turn them around with our partners in up to 6 weeks. So we do understand the urgency, and we know that perhaps in the ramp-up phase of the fund, we did not have the toolkit complete, but I think now we do. We are working in regions to be closer to our partners. We are all based in Korea, but within our own programming teams, they are focused in regions, and those team members are liaising closely with countries and at the same time with our partners in order to see how we can bring together the projects that our partners are bringing with the country priorities. We have also expedited our disbursements. by a significant amount, and we are now able to somehow approve, sign the legal agreements and disburse in less than 4 months. In the last board meeting, where we approved 16 projects, 10 of those signed their funding agreement right after the board approval. So we're really trying to expedite to make sure. But besides the approval, one other element that we are also working with our partners is to make sure that the implementation and the execution is done properly, to make sure that we are also able to reach high impact in both the adaptation and mitigation objectives that the projects have.
Now you're here at COP29. It's the first time the event has been in this region. What are your reflections on COP29 so far in Baku?
Well, coincidentally, in our board meeting that was held in October, we approved the first project in Azerbaijan. And while Azerbaijan is a middle-income country, there are adaptation needs. And we are working with our partner UNEP in an important project on early warning systems and climate information. Because this is an opportunity for everyone to have those tools to prevent disasters and to also be able to track how the different scientific developments are going in climate services. So that was a great opportunity to come here and celebrate that as a good opportunity. We also launched, and we announced it, a project preparation facility for a project that is called Glaciers to Farms, where we would also have some of those adaptation elements, and Azerbaijan and many of the neighboring countries that are eligible for our funding will also be able to be part of that. COP29 is dubbed or labeled the Finance COP. And I believe a lot of the focus will be on how the ambition of the new quantifiable goal will be. I think it's going to be an important signaling, not just on the ambition, but on how those resources will be allocated and how those resources will be sourced. So there are conversations about, the multilateral development banks came together and they already announced their ambition of having 120 billion by 2030. There is already conversation whether the private sector should also have a goal that brings together the entire sort of climate finance architecture. So my sense is that next week, after tomorrow, which is a rest day, the focus will be a lot about what would be the language of that sort of figure. But the figure per se might not get us where we need to go. It is the means to get to that figure. The 100 billion, which was the previous goal, was only achieved last year based on OECD numbers. So I think it is important that it is an ambitious number with clarity of sources and clarity of how we will have the timeline to get there.
An ambitious number, but plenty of work still left to
Indeed.
do. Mr. Gonzalez, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, and thank you for the invitation.